Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the second part of building an online portfolio. And as you can see here on the page, we're gonna build this. Page. So to help you guys out there that you are trying to build your own portfolio website and you have like no idea where to start or anything. So basically, I will cover everything in this series of videos. So in the last video, I was just like covering the basics about HTML and CSS. Well, I didn't do anything too much extensive, but we'll give you like the, the basics really that you need. And now I'm gonna organize these next videos by section. So for example, in this video, we're gonna build this navigation bar here on the top, and then the next video we're gonna do the heroes section, and then next video about me, this one in here, and so on until we get to the projects and the footer and anything. I would like to say that I have now a few spots open now for any mentorship for all of you out there that you are a little bit lost and you need some help. I can give you my experience. Most of you guys, you are just like asking like what kind of projects you should build for your own online portfolio. And guys, just remember these. Most of you are just like building this kind of to-do list apps or anything. You just go to these websites like Treehouse and everything, and you just do like these kind of basic projects, and you put these on your online portfolio. And the reality is they are not like giving you too much value, because, for example, me, in all the interviews that I have been, they are all the time asking me, Telmo, show me some websites that you have built. And when I say websites, you can put like something really valuable on a website, like how to do a login or how to do a search, how to put an API on a website, but just like build real websites. And this is what I do with my mentorship. Usually, with my students, I will just like check what kind of skills do they have at the moment, and based on their skills, I will give them a project so they can like progress their skills. It's not going to be something too difficult, but not too easy. And I will give them some kind of professional website project that they can build, and I will help them out. And whenever they have like some kind of struggling moments, we can do some Skype calls as well. So I can also help you with your CV. All of you out there that you don't know what to write on your CV or how to prepare some interviews, you don't have any idea what they can ask. So I can help with all these kind of things. So if you guys are interested, just send me an email at telmosampaio@gmail.com. I think is my email is on the about me section or something. And yeah, just so let's start finally with this. Okay, so let's start with our online portfolio finally. So, like I said before, in this video, we're going to cover this navigation bar section. So for this, you're going to have to download the Visual Studio Code if you want to follow me, and but you can use whatever code editor you want. You can use Sublime, brackets, it doesn't matter. But if you want to follow me, just make sure to download the Visual Studio Code. It's completely for free, so you don't have to worry about this. So after you download and installed, just go in here to File, New File, and as you can see, we have an untitled file. So we need to save it. First of all, we go to Save As. Choose the folder where you want to save your files and your project, and give it a name of index.html. This is the name of our first page, first of all, yeah? So let's save it. And now we're going to put in here the basic skeleton of a HTML page. So we're going to write down HTML. And as you can see, there is some code in here on the side that is highlighted. That this is like a kind of shortcut done by Visual Studio Code that saves us a lot of time. I think maybe some of the other code editors might have these, but yeah. So basically, if you click in here on HTML5, it's going to show up all of this code. So you don't have to be coding everything by yourself, you know, and this will save you a lot of time. So if you don't know exactly what's in here on the page, don't worry, because I'm going to cover this all in this video. So right now, as you can see, there is a circle in here, like I mentioned in the previous video. It means that the file has not been saved yet, and you cannot preview it on the browser. So to save our file, we're going to go in here to File, Save, or you can use the keyboard shortcut Control S. So let's save it, and if you go to our folder where we have our file, double click, and there is nothing. That's because our page is completely empty at the moment. Okay, so let's give some space in here. We're gonna write all of our code for our website inside of these body tags. As you can see, they are highlighted when I click on it. And let's write down in here some div. A div will be like a box, a container for all your HTML elements, you know, for all of your content. You're gonna have to make sure you organize everything like really nicely and neat. So most of the things is gonna be inside of a div. So I put in here a div. If we save it and we refresh the page, you can just refresh the page with reload in here if you are using Chrome, or you can just press Ctrl F5. There is nothing. Yeah. Okay. So now, if you're gonna write something like "Hello World," Ctrl S to save. Let's refresh the page, and there you go. That is our Hello World. So it means that we are starting to build something. Now, okay, so, but you shouldn't really like put things inside of a div like this. When you're going to put the content, for example, you should put inside of a paragraph or something. So let's put a paragraph, and let's put "Hello World." You see this space in here, what I'm doing. This kind of space, you can just like press tab on your keyboard and it will give you this space. Look at this. This is just to mean that this paragraph that has "Hello World" inside, it's inside of this div, you know, so it's easy to organize and see, okay, what is inside of what. For example, our div in here is inside of the body. Look the space that I give it. So it's like really easy to organize your code and make sure that you don't get lost. So in here we have "Hello World," and I'm going to put another paragraph, and I'm going to put my name, Telmo Sampaio. Let's save, refresh the page, and there you go. "Hello World" and Telmo Sampaio. Okay, so now if we want to put, I'm going to show you how really the divs work. So if we're going to put a background color on our div, let's go in here to our head section. Let's give this a little bit of space, and we're going to write style. This is inside of here. This is where it's going to be all of our CSS. I'm going to target our div because this is where I want to put a background color. Don't worry if you are like, oh, Telmo, but how do I know how to access all of these CSS properties and stuff? You can just like go to Google and say something like how to put a background color with CSS. It's easy, and it's going to show up the answer. So don't worry if you are like, I don't know how I can remember all these kind of things. So really don't worry about this. Okay, so let's target our div. So we put div, we open the curly braces, and inside we're going to put our property background dash color, and we're going to put light blue. You see the circle? It means the file has not been saved. So Ctrl S to save, refresh the page, and there you go. Our div in here, it has like this paragraph saying "Hello World" and this paragraph saying "Telmo Sampaio." And all of our div, it has this color. And as you can see, instead of just taking this little bit of space with that background color, is taking the full width of the page. That's because div elements by default, they occupy all the width of your web page, you know, all of the browser. For example, let's say I'm going to copy and I'm going to put something in here, another paragraph, and I'm going to say this is a portfolio website. So if we save this, and before refreshing the page, just check this. Look at the height of this div. If you're going to refresh, the div is now bigger. You know, the size of the div, it's like an elastic band. You know, if you don't have anything in there, it's not going to show anything. But if you're going to put some stuff in there, it's going to increase the size, you know. And the more things you put, the more it's going to increase. So now let's say that you don't want this div to be occupying all the width of the page. You want to make sure it just occupies the enough space. So for example, if I remove all of these and I just leave hello world, let's refresh. You see, imagine that you just want the background color just around this word hello world. So what you're going to do is you go in here, target the div, and you're going to do display inline block. You're going to save. And there you go. You see in here, this is just the space that the div is now occupying. That's because, like I said before, by default, a div, it has the property of display block that occupies all the 100% width of the page. But if you put the property display inline block like it is in here, it's going to just occupy the space that it needs. So for example, let's say I'm going to put in here, my name is Telmo. Let's save, Control S, refresh the page. Look now in here how it's going to increase now the width. You see? It's increasing the width. So this is perfect. This is really what we want. And now we're going to talk about something really, really important, that is the CSS box model. If you understand this, you're gonna display your page, move everything around as you want, you know, without any difficulties. So let's say for this we're going to use the developer tools. I'm using the browser Chrome. I think other browsers, they also have developer tools, but I think these developer tools from Chrome is the easiest one. So if you want to follow me, just install Chrome and just use this, because for me it's just like the easiest. So and I think many people they prefer. So to check the developer tools, you just right click on the page and you go in here to inspect, or you can just press F12 on your keyboard and you're going to have the developer tools. This is the developer tools. You see all this section in here. It might look a little bit complicated, but don't worry, I'm going to explain everything. So in this part in here on the top, we can see that we have all the code that we have in our code editor, just like in here. So for example, inside of our body, you see these arrows. You can close and open the code. This means that it's inside. You see, like I explained before, it's a code that is inside of the body, and I even give it an indentation to make sure that we can visually see it better. Okay, so in here now, if we press this arrow in here on the top to inspect the element, this bit of code in here, it selected the paragraph element. And if we go in here, this is the CSS box model. So it means this is the content, what's in here. This is the padding. And what is the padding? The padding is something that is the space between the content and the outside. I'm going to explain this better with this now. So for example, I'm going to target the paragraph with a P, and I'm going to put something like this, padding 10 pixels, and I'm going to put a border 1 pixel, solid and black. So if you refresh the page, look at this. Okay, let's go in here, select this arrow, click in here. You see it's selected the paragraph, and let's look at the CSS box model. And we can see in here in the center we have our content. The content is what you have written down inside. So this is hello world, my name is Telmo. And then we have the padding. What is the padding? The padding is the space on the right, bottom, left, and top. You see, and then after the padding you have the border, which is this border in here. You can see this line around, and then you have the margin. The margin is like what separates this from any other content, you know. So okay, so for example in here when I put padding 10 pixels, this in here is giving a 10 pixels to all around, on the top, on the bottom, on the right, and on the left. So for example, if you put now, you can put something like this, padding left 20 pixels. In here first, like I said, CSS, it works like this. If you put a value on the top, but then you overwrite it with something down below, it's going to take that value down below. So in here, when you're going to put padding left, now this value in here is going to overwrite this value. So if you're going to refresh the page, look at here how the padding on the left now increased. And if we're going to here with the arrow, click on it, you see selected. And look, padding 20, padding right 10, padding bottom 10, and padding top 10. Like I put in here padding left, I could put padding padding right 30 pixels, padding bottom, padding top, whatever. So this bit in here that I put, it's just like an overall, so it's going to give exactly the same padding on the top and on the bottom, everywhere around. So it's just a bit like to save a little bit of code. Okay, so if we save this, refresh the page, look, now it increased. Okay, so let's say, for example, we want to put another paragraph in here, and I'm going to write this is a portfolio website. Let's save, refresh the page, and look, it's down here. And a paragraph is just like the same as a div. By default, they take the full width of the parent element. So if we want them to stack together, we should give like these paragraphs a display of inline block. Let's save. Look, now they are just side to side. And look at these, look at these. So if you're going to press arrow and you click this, you have our padding that we put on the right 30 pixels, our padding on the left 20. We have a border that we said that is 1 pixel. If I want to put, I don't know, 5 pixels, look how it is. 5 pixels. And if instead of putting solid, you can put, for example, dashed. So now it's dashed. And in here is the color. I can put red. Red. You see, there is many properties. You want to discover these as you are learning, and you can also check this online at any minute. There's no point for me to showing you all of these little things because we just want to style our navigation bar for now. So let's go back to the 1 pixel solids, and let's leave it red. It's fine. Right, so let's go to this. Let's go back to the CSS box model. So if we click in here, our paragraph, it has a margin of 16 pixels on the top, which is this one in here, and 16 pixels on the bottom, and it doesn't have any margin on the right or left. So for example, if we want to increase the space between this paragraph in here, so for example, if you want to increase the space between this paragraph and this one in here, we should go in here to paragraphs and put margin right and say, for example, 10 pixels. Let's refresh the page, and you see how this space in here increased. Let's go with our arrow again and click in our paragraph. It's highlighted, as you can see, just the first one, not the second. And if you go in here now, you can see that the margin now is 10 pixels. So this is, the margin is something that goes outside of your element to push other elements away from it. So now you have in there a margin of 10 pixels. If you want to increase, you can put like 20 pixels. There you go. Just take this in consideration. When, for example, when we are using this inside of the style, like this paragraph in here, it means that we are targeting all the paragraphs in the page. So we are giving them the same styling elements. So if we want to differentiate one from the other, we should use classes or IDs. I explained this a little bit in the last video, so if you want to check it out to understand it better. So now, for example, let's say that I want this paragraph, this is a portfolio website, I want it to have a different padding and a different color inside. So let's put in here a class right down inside, and we're going to put class, let's say class blue. Let's give it the class blue. We're going to go in here and we're going to press a dot. It means that it's for a class. And we're going to put blue is the name of the class, curly braces. And now we're going to say color. I want the color to be blue of the text. So we have to put color blue. And I want the border to be different. I want the border to be 2 pixels, solid and blue as well. Let's save this, refresh, and there you go. You see, now we set up just for this paragraph because we put it a class. And inside of this class, we said, okay, this class will have a color of blue for the text, which is in here, and a border of 2 pixels solid blue. So there you go. If by some reason we want, for example, to apply the same things in here, we just have to write down class blue and save it. There you go. Now the first div has as well the same things. Okay, so one thing that you have to understand is one thing that you have to understand is that all the HTML elements, they will bring by default some margins or paddings or whatever. So we need to take this in consideration when we are building a page. Let's say, for example, I'm gonna put now a title H1. I explained these H1s in the last video. You can start from H1 until H6. So this is like some title elements if you want to put a title for something. So because of that, I'm just going to put this here on the top. Let me push this down here. And I'm going to write, let's say, this is a tutorial. Let's save, refresh the page. And look at this. This H1 in here, it's taking the full width of the parent. Which one is the parent of this H1? Is this div. It's taking the full width, so it doesn't let any other of the elements to sit next to it. So because this H1 has by default a display of block, we need to go in here and write down H1 and put a display of inline block. If we save, look, now it's just taking the necessary space it needs and lets the other elements to sit next to it. So if we click in here with the arrow on our H1, look at this, and we go here to this box model, we can see that by default we have some margin on the top and on the bottom, and we didn't put these margins. So if we want to overwrite these values, we should go in here and inside of the H1, let's say that we want all the margins to be 0. We can just put margin 0 and save it. Refresh, and if we click it, look, now there is no margins. No margin on the top and no margin on the bottom. There is still a gap in here because of these elements in here, because this is like an elastic band. You see, there is the paragraphs inside that they are bigger. Look in here, because they are bigger, they are expanding the div, but this one is inside, but it doesn't have any margin. Let's say I want to push this a little bit to the side as well. I'm going to put a margin right of 20 pixels, and we push it a little bit to the side. That's it. So I guess you can understand a little bit better now the CSS box model. If you understand, just let me know in the comments down below, and I will try to make a video just for it if you guys want. So right, if we go back to basics now that I explained this part a little bit, let's take all of these out. Let's just leave this in here. Oops, what did I do? Save, refresh the page, there is nothing. Okay, let's start now with this. So we have a div. Inside of this div, I want to create another div. Actually, I want to create two divs. So we have a div, which is going to be for our navigation bar, all of these. Then we want to create a div for this logo, which will have my name or your name. And then we create another div for this menu in here. So in here, I'm going to write down Telmo. I'm going to put all capitals, Telmo.sampaio, save. Let's refresh the page. Oops. I wanted to put dot. Refresh the page, telmo.sampaio, and then in here I want to put this menu. So to use a menu, you should use HTML elements for ordered lists or unordered lists. I'm going to explain you now what is it. So an ordered list, it starts with a OL and closes with a OL, and then you're going to put some list items inside, like this. And we want the home, about, skills, work, and contact. Let's just push this down a bit. So how many is it? 5. Let's copy and paste. So in here, home, about, skills, work, and contact. Let's save. Refresh the page, and there you go. You got telmo.sampaio, and then you have this ordered list because it's a OL, you see? It means that it's going to start with a home. It's going to give it a number of 1. That's why it's called the ordered list. It's going to start 1, 2, 3 until whatever number you have in there. You can use these, or you can use an unordered list. Instead of OL, you put UL. Save. And now, since it's an unordered list, instead of has the numbers, it has just like bullet lists. But now we don't want these bullet lists in here. So for that, we can go in here in our style, and we're going to put UL. Remind that if I'm putting UL just like this, it's going to target all the unordered lists on your page. So we don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to write down in here inside of UL, we're going to write down a class of menu. No, actually, we're going to give it in here in the parent element, menu. Let's save, and we're going to give it a class of menu. And so right now, when you are typing this menu, you are targeting this div in here. So this is not what we want. We want to target the UL inside of the class menu. So you just like press space and menu UL. This means that we are targeting the div element with the class menu, this one in here, and then any unordered list inside of that div with the class menu. So we want this to have a list style of none. Don't worry if you don't remember anything about this. If you don't know, just go to Google and search how to remove bullet lists or whatever from the unordered list, for example. I just know this by memory because I do this every day, you know. So just refresh the page and we remove the bullet lists. But now you are telling me, Telmo, now all of these lists that we created, these lists in here, they are just like displaying vertically. I don't want that. I want them to display horizontal. That's because all of these LIs, they also have a display property of block, which means that they will take the full width of the parent. If we go in here, look, with our arrow, we're going to press. Look how they are taking the full, you see the highlighted is taking like the full width. So this is not what we want. So we go in here and we're going to write down, we want to target our menu first, which is the class menu, and then the UL, and then inside of UL, it's our li. It means that we're going to target all the LIs. Curly braces, and we're going to put a display of inline block. Let's save, refresh the page, and as you can see in here, we have home, about, skills, work. Now they are all displaying horizontally. Now there is kind of a gap in here, and we don't know why. So let's discover this with this arrow from the inspector, and we're going to select our UL, as you can see. And by default, like I explained, it has a margin top of 16 pixels and a margin bottom of 16 pixels. It has also a padding. Look how is highlighted in here. A padding of 40 pixels on the left. We don't want this because it's pushing a little bit to the side. So we can remove that. We can go to our UL that we selected before, and we can put padding, padding left. This is what we want. And it's going to be 0. You can put just 0 or 0 pixels like this and save it. So now it's going back to the left. Okay, we are getting there. We are getting there. So we have our logo, we have our menu links. We want them to display now side by side. So for that, we need to put our okay, we want to give them a display of inline block, like I explained before. So let's put a class in here now of logo, because this is going to be our logo. And what we can do is we can put in here our class of logo, dot logo, and we're going to put display inline block, and our class of menu. If we want to target two elements at the same time to put the same kind of code, we can just like put a comma, space, and the other element. You see, if I'm putting dot logo and then I put comma, space, and the other element, it means that both my div with the class logo and my div with the class menu, they will have the display of inline block. It means that they will just take the necessary space they need, and they can let other elements sit next to it and not take the full width like it was before. Look at in here. I still didn't refresh the page. This is how it was before. Display block and display block. So if you refresh the page, oops, I didn't save. Look at the circle. There you go. Now they are sitting next to each other. Let's give our outer div a class of navigation. Let's remove this and just put in here navigation, and give it a background color. Let's say light blue. There you go. So this is the background color of our navigation. It's just of the outer div from the navigation, because if, for example, if you are going to your logo, let's just target the logo in here, for example, and you give it a background color of red, let's save. You see now this is just our logo and just our menu. This is just for you guys to understand better. Menu, let's give it a background color of blue. Let's save, refresh the page, and look. Now, as I told you before, a div behaves really like an elastic band. The more things you put, the more it's gonna like along or whatever. So in here, for example, you can see that Telmo.sampaio, this div in here, if you go with the arrow and we select it, you see it's selected. And if you go in here to the box model, it doesn't have any margin, padding, anything. But if we select our div with the class menu in here, and it doesn't have any margin or anything, but if you go inside to the unordered list, it has a margin top of 16 and 16, so top and bottom. And this is what is making our div container navigation a little bit taller. Because if we remove, let's go in here to our selector, menu, UL, and let's say, for example, that all the margin is going to be 0. Let's save. If we refresh the page, look how it's going to be smaller. Now it's just small. Is taking the div, the outside is just taking the exactly size that he needs to. Okay, so now we don't want this. We want now this div in here, the menu, instead of being right next to the div with the class logo, we want it to be on the right side. So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to float right. So we are targeting our menu to the right. It means that this div was was initially in our div with the class navigation. Now is floating to the right. So it's not in here anymore on the base, but it's floating and to the right all the time. So if we refresh the page, there you go. Now whatever it happens is all the time trying to go to the right. Okay, so let's give it a bit of some height or whatever. So for example, in here, I want my menu, my div with the class logo, to move a little bit to the side. So let's say, for example, I want let's say, for example, I wanted to have a margin from the left. So let's say, for example, our div with a class logo in here, we want our logo to have a little bit of breathing room, you know. So let's give it a margin of 20 pixels all around. So now our div, if we select it and we check here, it has 20 pixels, margin top, right, bottom, and left. And we want to do the same because this one in here is still on the top. We want it to have the same thing. So we go in here to our menu and give it a margin of 20 pixels. There you go. You see, they are really nice centered now. So I think now that since you understand this a little bit better, now we need to give it a little bit of space between these menu links. So for that, we need to select our menu, UL, LI, and give it a margin, let's say 15 pixels. So let's give it a margin, for example, of margin right of 20 pixels. I don't know. Let's just check. So now they are really well spaced out, as you can see. Let's remove these background colors because they are getting a bit annoying. Save. There you go. So now, as you can see, we can just put some links inside of our list elements. Let's just give this a little bit of space. And inside of these list elements, we want to put an anchor element. An anchor element, this is basically an element that you need to put when you want to click on something to make something happen. So it starts with an A, and then you put with a href. This is like the path where it's going to lead when you click it. For now, we're not going to put anything. Let's just put like a hashtag. And in the future, we're going to come in here and just like whenever I click, for example, home, something is going to happen, you know, it's going to take you somewhere. So we can just like replicate this. I'm going to put this in here now, and in here, and in here, and in here. Okay, let me just take this out. And we need to close it, of course. And just close, and that's it. Let's save. There you go. When you put a link element, it shows by default with this. You see, it looks like it's like with an underline style. If you want to remove this, what you can do is go in here to the menu, UL, LI, A. You see how this is like a ladder. You need to target first the menu just to make sure you are targeting the right elements, you know. So in here we're gonna say that we want the text decoration to be none. Save, refresh the page, and now we don't have nothing of this underline text. And look in here. Now, if you hover with the mouse, it's going to have a cursor, a pointer, but just in here, like really this small part. And what we want is like really the full part. We want to click in here, for example, on the top and still be the same. So for that, what we can do is, let's put a background color, just for us to see a background color of blue. And we refresh the page. Look how small it is. Let's click this with this arrow. We have the anchor text in here like selected, and if we go to our CSS box model, it means that it doesn't have any margin or any padding. So what we want, if you give it a margin, let's say we give it a margin top of 50 pixels. We refresh the page, nothing happens. So this is not what we want. We want to give it, it's like a padding. Because padding is really part of the content, like I showed you before. If we refresh, look now how it has increased. And now, in here, when we are putting the hovering with the mouse, it's gonna work if you click it. You see? So in here, what we can do, we can put something like, to not be so high, 45 pixels maybe. Did I save it? Let's put 40 pixels. Let's save. Still a lot. Maybe put 30 pixels. Let's put 15. Right, 15 is okay. And let's put the same like now for the bottom. There's still a little bit of space in here. So if we go and let's put 17. It's almost there, so maybe let's put 18. No, I don't know. I think it was 20. Let's put 20 and see. There you go. So now it's really taking the full height of the container. So this is what we want. You see, if you click in here, it's going to affect the link. But now, to make it a bit consistent, we could put like a padding right of let's say 15 pixels and a padding left of 15 pixels. Oops. A padding left of 15 pixels. You see, now it's just much bigger and it looks nicer. So we can remove the background now. You see how nice it is? But all of this code in here, you can just replace it with something like this. Padding, and then if you put just a number, let's say 20 pixels, now all of these anchor elements, they will have 20 pixels all over around, or you can do something like this. So in here, this will start like this, 15 pixels, 20 pixels, and 15 pixels. You can put this in here is the same as this one in here. It means that this first value will be the padding of the top. This works like in clockwise, you know. First starts with the top, then starts on the right, and then it goes on the bottom, and then it goes on the left. So this is these values: top, right, bottom, and left. So basically we can just take this out, save, and it's still going to be the same. I think we have a little bit too much padding on the right and on the left, so let's just put 10 on each side and saved it. Perfect. We are getting there. We are getting there. Okay, so in here now, what we want to do is when we hover with our mouse, we want the background color to be something different, you know. So what we want, we're going to put something like this. When we hover, let's just copy this, and we're going to put like this colon over. I want the background color to be, let's say, if we go in here, select this color, let's say you want a color blue, just for now. You save, you refresh the page. Look, now whenever you hover over this, it's going to be like all blue. And let's say that I want the color of the text to change to white. Refresh the page. Now when you hover it, it's going to be the background color blue, and the text is going to be white. But look how the transition is like so fast. We want the transition to be a little bit smoother, you know, not so drastically like this. So for that, we're going to make in here transition, and we're going to say all. It means it's going to be all the transitions, and we're going to give it a half a second, and ease. It means that it's going to be easing. Look now. Oops, I need to refresh the page. And it looks much better. There you go. So I think that's it for this video, guys. We just built the navigation bar. Now we just need to put a little bit of the styles, you know, but I will give this file in here if you want to check like with the proper styles like I have in here, so to not make these too much longer, this video. And yeah, basically we have our navigation bar ready for you to use. And yeah, in the next video we're gonna start with our header section in here. I hope you guys liked this video, and I'm not sure if it was a little bit confusing or not, but you know, like I said, I'm not like a professional doing this kind of tutorials, and even though you know these kind of things, it's difficult to explain this, so it takes time, so bear with me. But if you like this video, just let me know, and or what I can improve. Yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoy. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. That's it.